Hello, everybody.
Episode
Five.
of the podcast.
Featuring, we're here today. We're featuring movie teacher, AP Lit teacher,
Poetry.
poetry, and
Not
graphic
comic
novels,
books.
not
You got
comic
it.
books.
Yeah.
Mr. John Mockney. Hello.
Serious.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Thanks,
course,
thanks
of
for the
course.
wonderful intro.
Absolutely.
I actually don't teach graphic novels. Or sorry, I do teach graphic. I don't teach poetry this year.
Oh, you
cut
don't?
it?
No, because they were giving me way too many classes. Like I had like 4 different classes or 5 across the 2 semesters. And I asked if we could do anything about it, and Mrs. Fox just deleted poetry from existence.
Wow.
So
Wow.
sorry if you signed up for poetry next year and this is how you're finding out, but you will not be taking that class.
Wow.
I mean, that's the easiest way to
You know what? That,
get rid
yeah,
of your
you know what?
problems.
Did you really care about your poetry class like that much?
I care about every class with all of my heart. They're all the most important thing to me.
Oh, is it really?
No, actually, I liked poetry. It was better than writing explorations because I feel like writing explorations, I was kind of working from the ground up and like trying to figure out what that class was as I was doing it. But poetry felt very like, oh, yeah, I get it. It's like an AP Lit. You guys are both an AP Lit. It's like the poetry units of that, but if that was the whole class, and it's all right. It's easy.
So-
yeah, I heard it was a fun class. I
Yeah.
had a couple friends that were in it.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna come on the air. I don't know if I've ever told you about this. It was one of the funniest things. So back when I sat over in the corner with like Zach and Dylan,
Yeah,
and
the old
Josh,
days. Yeah, the boys.
That was during the poetry unit,
Yeah.
and I don't remember how it happened, but I was talking to Zach and someone. I don't remember how it happened. All I remember is what he said. Like he said something along the lines of like, but yeah, like Shakespeare just writes poems, and I'm like, well, Zach, what about Romeo and Juliet? He's like, yeah, but that's like just one long poem. And I said, Zach, please tell me you're joking. Like with the straightest face, like he actually thought that it was just a poem.
Yeah, how long do you think it was?
Really
It's
long.
like, it's like 2 pages. It's like a long poem.
It's like a lot. Because that was like when we were transitioning to short stories. He's like, wait, why are we reading Shakespeare? I thought all he wrote was poems. And I'm like, bro, what do you mean? Featuring special guest Mr. Sean Carmody, who comes in here every single day.
See dizzy.
Mr. Carmody.
Printer time.
Printer time. So we also have a guest featuring from the lovely printer right here that
yeah?
hopefully will not be a thing soon because they just got a new printer in the math department.
No,
No, they didn't.
it's not going away.
Sorry, guys.
Great. So are you going to still use this one or are you going to use the other one?
It's fine. It doesn't
Okay,
actually
great.
like.
It's
It's
one of the
going to
perks.
sound loud for us, but when
It doesn't
goes in
actually
there, it's
sound
not
loud
that
there.
One of the perks about the North Campus is the printers work almost all the time.
Sure.
That is the nice thing. Yeah, it's to some extent maybe we're a bit of an afterthought over there, but printers almost like 90% of the time working. So
That's good. I'm really
There's also
happy
like
about
not
that.
as nearly as much paper going through them.
That's true.
No,
There's a
yeah.
lot less teachers.
there's less people.
Yeah,
there's less people
There's
altogether.
just less people.
Not
altogether,
a
yeah.
single freshman in sight.
It's the best days of my life.
Do you guys is this your first time ever taking any classes over there? Like,
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
you seen the North
Yeah.
Campus before?
So
this
I've
one?
seen the North Campus before because I grew up with Mr. Willard. So
Oh.
he was like he lived down the street
What?
from me, and I
Oh.
and
Not
like
like
our
literally
families
with him.
like we're family friends. Like my
Oh,
family and
okay,
his family are
gotcha.
family friends. Like we went camping every year. Like we always did stuff.
Okay.
And Reagan's in my grade. So and then Kaysen is
He's only 2 years younger than us, right?
he's only 2. No, he's a
3.
freshman
Yeah,
this
he's a
year.
freshman.
Yeah,
And he's 1 year younger than my sister.
Is it
and
weird?
so-
Is it strange for you to call Willard Mr. Willard because you're not used to calling him that growing up, or did you always call him that?
Sometimes I'll go up to him and like I typically now
Yeah.
I never use formal titles.
Sure.
Like-
you're just the last name.
Like I'm just
Yeah.
last name
Yeah.
yeah. Like
Carmody.
Carmody. I just
Yeah.
say or like I call him his nickname like whatever
C Dizzy.
C Dizzy, Parmesan cheese.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
C
Yeah.
Dog. Whatever it is.
We had
but like
a lot of free time in
But, like-
honors algebra last year.
yeah, we sure did. But like I've called like I don't call Mr. Miller like Mr. Miller. I call him
Miller.
Big Guy.
Yeah.
Miller
Miller
or
time.
G Dog because his first
G-Dog.
name is Greg.
Right, right.
I sometimes call you Johnny Mock. Like,
Yeah, which is probably not allowed, but that's fine.
But-
I mean,
yeah.
No
we
one
can-
cares.
I'm teaching you a lesson here on air of but
well,
yeah.
no, I was taught this lesson because my dad's a doctor.
Oh,
right?
I see.
So
well, your
he-
doctor's your dad's smarter than I am.
So my dad is, very.
You don't call him Doc for fun.
I do call him Doc sometimes, but like he's very adamant that like I make sure that my friends know that he's not Mr. Zach and he's Dr. Zach.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Like that's just what he is. And
Yeah.
so like I'm very educated on how to use professional titles
Yeah.
and like how to use them the correct way. But in school where, for lack of better words, I can kind of get away with most things just because I know everybody.
Yeah.
Like all the teachers know me and they know that I'm not doing things for any malicious reason.
Right.
So I film the announcements in the morning, and I usually end up getting back to band after the bell rings. And so I always walk back through Center Commons, and Willard's there, Silvestro's there, like other teachers are still there, wrapping up, talking in the morning, and I just give them fist bumps and talk to them for like 3 minutes, and then I can walk just to band. Like they just don't care.
Yeah. I when I was in high school, I had a French teacher named Carmen Van Alstyne, and I knew
Wow.
her. I knew her my whole life because I was friends with her son Preston, and by the time she was my French teacher, like my junior year, or sophomore year or something, she I couldn't call her Carmen, which I had called her my whole life. But I wasn't gonna call her Mrs. Van Alstyne. Like that was weird to me. So I would just be like, hey, like if I had to get her attention in class, I'd be like, hey, yo, hey, over here. Like I was raising my hand. I think I got away with never saying her name once. The
Wow.
entire year.
That's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty
Leslie, do you
impressive.
have any stories like that? Do you have any teachers that you kind of grew up with and it's kind of weird talking to them as
I mean, the only one that I ever it was just Ingrid.
sure, Mrs.
Miss
Holtree?
Holtree, yeah. But I never had her as a teacher.
Sure,
Oh.
I never had her as a teacher, which is also interesting because she's such a nice person.
Yeah,
Like
she's
she's
sweet.
just like she's just
Asshole
like,
to her kids.
but she's an asshole to her kids. Like I was
She's
talking to
rude.
Julia yesterday, at lunch, and she was like, Mrs. Holtree was legitimately the worst teacher I ever had in my entire life. And I said, I can't I never had her as a teacher, and I can't fathom her being mean.
Oh, I can. 100%.
Well, but people code switch when they teach. Some people are you got tough, especially. And look, not to, I don't know, not to be a pick me here or something, but especially if you're a woman, you need to assert yourself more as a teacher because kids will, the inherent sexism, kids will walk over you.
Sure.
That's tough. Boys get especially. Like if you're a woman and you're a teacher, there's no way to make certain boys happy.
Especially if you're hot.
Sure.
Like,
But
that's what-
either way, if you're too soft, they're gonna
Yeah.
walk over you, and then if you try to assert yourself, they're gonna call you shrill. It's
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened to Miss England last year. Miss England was the sub who filled in for Mrs. Daniels.
Yeah.
She ended up having to come in second semester in the middle of it and just start teaching AP Chem,
yeah,
and Gen Chem and Human Phys, because those were the 3 classes that Daniels taught. And she's just the sweetest. She's just a normal girl. I mean, she's getting a degree in cardiology.
yeah. It's
Like,
just
she's-
a regular person.
Just a regular person, but she's going to medical school for cardiology. She knows what she's talking about, but she wasn't assertive enough, and so she would tell us stories in 6th hour about how she just feels like some of her her Gen Chem class just walks all over her,
Yeah,
and she just can't handle it. This year, Daniels was gonna have to take on some bio classes, and so
Because,
England-
Peterson's gone.
yeah, and so.
God, I hated her.
And so England had to take on some bio classes, and the sophomores just absolutely just walked all pranced on her body, and she ended up saying, "I'm not teaching them,"
yeah.
and so they had to get another sub to come in and to teach those bio classes. And Miss England comes in for 2 hours a day to teach AP chemistry. That's it, and then she leaves.
Well, those AP classes are a walk in the park.
Right, they sure are.
I mean, they're not easy in terms of it's curriculum wise. There's a lot of pressure because you're trying to prepare them for a test that you don't write or grade. But but yeah, in terms of managing the students, it's a dream. I teach all seniors, and I think I'm so I really have it easy compared to a lot of my colleagues.
There's no thugs except for Brayson Knight. Brayson Knight.
Brace and Knight. Nate and Bryce.
Bryce.
They're not even thuggish though. They're just like
Exactly. But
Oh,
they're
Nate
AP
and
thugs.
Bryce. Oh, AP, which is like, I don't know, by regular standards, not thug at all. That's pretty.
Person.
Yeah, they're
Right.
pretty chill.
So actually, that was gonna segue me into a question that I was thinking about earlier.
Oh gosh. right.
Have you ever, like, think about your Ram time class and think about that one person? You
Okay.
know who we're talking about.
Sure.
Her name starts with an A.
All right.
Okay. Have you ever had a kid like that in your like an AP class where it was just like they were just, you know, you thought that you were gonna come into the year just typical AP kids, smart kids, and then there was just this standout who just like was maybe smart, like Mr. Van was talking about it because he had her sophomore year for bio, and he said she's one of the smartest kids
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've heard that
that,
from a lot of people.
that I've ever like taught.
Yeah.
She just is so not caring and
Mm-hmm.
inconsiderate that it just washes all that away. If she applied herself, she would do phenomenally,
Yeah.
but she just doesn't.
Yeah.
Have you ever had another kid like that in an AP class?
That's a good question. I've never had like a really disruptive kid in an AP class. I mean, I think the culture of the class can become disruptive if everybody's,
Doing
kind
it,
of
yeah.
working in sync. And if it's especially like third and fifth hour, there's always a difference. Like third hour is like the peak of the energy of the day. So it's like a little harder to wrangle as a mass. But individually speaking, I don't think I ever have. Like, I mean, there's been some kids that like definitely this is kind of out of their comfort zone to do AP.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I've really had a really easy go of it.
That's really good.
The worst case scenario, I feel like you just get the kids that never show up. That's
Right.
That's I think the bigger problem than
But if they're signing up for AP, that's, it's
Yeah.
not them.
right. Well, and that will happen. You'll have an AP
Yeah.
kid that's there, 2 days out of the week, and you're like, what are you?
Right. And that's
doing?
like, so I don't know if I told you this story yet, Wesley, because it just happened yesterday. Seth said one of the most intelligent things
Seth
that I've
Olsen?
ever heard him
Impressive. He doesn't say a lot of those.
in AP Lit. So we were giving, the queer Frankenstein talk, right? And so Seth raised his hand and says, now, think about it like this.
Seth, who by his own admission hadn't read a page of the book.
I hadn't read a page of the book. I haven't read a page of the book, but like
I haven't read it, yeah.
I read the Spark Notes, and
All right,
I
guys.
think that
Back in my day, we used to lie to our teachers about this.
He told us to be honest yesterday in class.
I did in that moment.
I just haven't had time. God, that thing's like, you ever like imagine putting your brain in a panini press? That's what it feels like
Yeah,
reading
I
Frankenstein.
imagine that all the time.
That's what I think whenever I think about Sydney Sweeney. It's just my brain
Wow.
in a panini press.
Can't say that.
Sorry, he said brain. That's fine.
I just
But like,
I read a sentence and I'm like, I don't even know what I just like. I read it with my eyes and not my brain.
Sure, yeah, no.
Sure.
I used to, guys, I used to have the same problem as a kid. Genuinely,
But I
I'd
read
like
books
find myself
regularly.
rereading the same page multiple times.
Yeah.
because I'd read a whole like 3-4 pages, and I'd be like, "What was that?" Like I didn't remember what I read.
sure.
But like with
Yeah.
regular books, it's whatever.
right.
I don't know. Frankenstein is like, because I lied to you. I have read some of the book. Like I read like chapter like 15 and 16. I read chapters like 1 through 6. Like I've read some of the chapters, and it's one of the most tolerable books that I've ever read in school.
Oh, good.
Like,
Tolerable's huge. That's great.
Like it's not. Well, it's not like when you hear kids talking about the Scarlet Letter from last year.
Sure, yeah.
Like it sounds like that book was insufferable. Like
Yeah.
they just like couldn't like the fact that they had to read another page of that book made them want to like not
Yeah.
be in that class anymore. And Frankenstein is not that bad.
Frankenstein is something that I consider can be kind of like a gateway book in terms of like going from like a book that might just be kind of exciting or interesting to read that's also like quote unquote literature.
Yeah. That's why I like Shakespeare. Shakespeare was fun
Yeah.
because it actually like engaged you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You'll like the Hamlet unit when we get to it.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of people seem to not like Hamlet, and I don't know
Really?
why that is. Well, I just like when I told my dad that we were reading Hamlet, he was like, "Ugh, Hamlet."
It's one of the better ones. I mean, here's the thing. I would love to do, if I could pick any Shakespeare, I would pick because Shakespeare used to be kind of a freak when he started.
Yeah.
No, his one of his early ones was Titus Andronicus. And it's like, it was made at a time where they were doing like shock gore plays. That's what was popular. So it's all about like cannibalism and like I think T.S. Eliot called it the stupidest play ever written.
Yeah.
Like it was like that. If I could really like study Shakespeare, I'd be like, okay, here's the Shakespeare play that nobody likes, and we're gonna try to redeem it. Like we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
But you know, Hamlet's you can't graduate high school without doing Hamlet.
Sure.
You know? But you were
Speaking
saying
of-
something about
Oh
Seth.
yeah, Seth. So we were talking about it, right? And Seth says out loud, he says, think about it like this. If Victor Frankenstein is homosexual, he was complaining about being lonely in the beginning of the book, yes? And then he then goes to create a male counterpart for a monster
Why not a boy twink?
instead
Real
of
talk.
instead of a female counterpart. So that's like, red flag number 1. But number 2, what if that is why he's so upset when it's abhorrently hideous?
Real talk.
Because like he was looking for a companion that was going to be by his side. Because there's no way. Like,
It's like he got catfish.
yeah, he got catfished by his own creation. Like
he swiped right on the idea.
and then he said, "Oh shit," and then ran away. But like I don't know if you talked about this like in their class, but Victor there
We're
is
very homophobic in our class.
There is irrefutable evidence that Victor loves Henry. Like he just does.
yeah, but you can love someone and not be gay.
Sure, but
Yeah.
you look at that and then you also say like, that's why he's so like terrified and upset that the monster is so hideous is because he was looking, and then he gets even more upset when the monster asks for a female companion.
Right. He's kind of jealous.
He's like, he's like,
You can see it that way. I mean,
Not good enough.
Like if I'm being straight with you guys, no pun intended. I think like I'm like undecided. I don't really feel one way or the other about the gay allegory in Frankenstein, but I think it's worthy of like entertaining the idea.
Sure.
Because everybody would get. There was a section of people, mostly dudes, in every hour that kind of pushes back on it, and they're just like, no, it's ridiculous. There's no way. And I'm like, you might be right. It's just. It's one of those things where it's like culture has overtaken anything I could do. I can't ignore that that's a valid reading of the book because that's just, like it's just popular now.
I think a lot of people are tired of just like people reading into the gay side of it. They're like, oh, what if he was gay? It's like, stop.
It is a crutch. It's too
Yeah.
easy sometimes
Absolutely.
for
I
people
think that
because
it's
I feel
like
like it happens with everything, and it's like, and I'm not. I mean, it's just like there's other types of criticism, and I think sometimes it can devalue, like, like if somebody, for example, puts like a gay reading on George and Lenny, like I think you're kind of missing the forest through the trees if you do that, because I
Right.
think there's so much that's kind of missing what the relationship actually is, and I don't think that reading really complements it.
right.
You know?
Like when I read Frankenstein, it's a little bit more actually entertained that there could be some sort of gay allegory in there.
And then also Mary Shelley's own words have kind of hinted at that
Right,
too.
right.
Yeah.
But like of Mice and Men, there's just no chance. Like there's just like
Isn't George like 60 and Lenny's like 30s?
Is George 60? I
He's
feel like
old.
he's a little younger than maybe.
he's definitely older than Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just picture because in the movie Gary Sinise and John Malkovich are like kind of the same age, so
Sure.
like, that's
Yeah.
my picture in my head.
The movie
Right.
was really good.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie for how good the book is.
Yeah, and that's an easy book to read. It's like what, 5 chapters?
Yeah,
I
it's
remember
not long.
I read that in high school too. That was a
Yeah.
breeze.
Yeah,
It was
It's
not
I mean
bad.
it's tremendously sad.
Yeah.
Like like it's
I remember we
tremendously
just-
sad, but
I don't know. I had Miss Fulton. We didn't do a whole lot in that class.
you sure did not.
I
Sure did not.
One thing I remember is we would just slut shame Curly's wife. That's all we did.
That's the whole point. That's the opposite of the point of the book.
Like every time she'd be, oh, this fucking whore.
You would be a villain of the book. That's like what all
No, Miss
the bad-
Miss Fulton, we had a whole assignment about like, do we think like similar to this, like, do we think Curly's wife was really a slut? And we were all like, kind of.
Every man in the
Gosh,
class.
she put on lipstick. I mean, she was asking for it.
guys, her shoulders exposed,
Yeah, yeah.
and she's a distraction to the whole class.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
like,
her fault that she got murdered by accident.
I think that's one of the funnier tropes that you see people make about high school.
Yeah.
is that like the
I
jokes
saw it on
about the
TikTok
dress
the other
code.
day.
Yeah.
You know, like a girl wearing something that has one shoulder revealed, and then all the guys are just like drooling like
Yeah,
on their
yeah.
desks and being like, "Teacher, I can't focus her shoulders out." Like,
I feel like
I can
dress
see
codes
her.
aren't really upheld anymore. It seems.
No.
Like, I think our dress code is like a line, and it's like,
No nipples.
It's like, it's like when it was COVID. So my freshman year,
Yeah.
I think I read it, and it was like must wear clothes that cover all private areas and must wear a mask. I think that was the dress code my freshman year.
Yeah, there's
I
a lot
think-
of wiggle room there.
I
don't
think
like
that was like the dress code, and I think that the way that the style evolved from like 8th grade to now,
Mm-hmm.
people are wearing baggier, bigger clothes now. Like that's just kind of like what the
Yeah.
style is,
Yeah.
and so I think that the dress code kind of dress coded itself, if that makes sense.
trends just make an
Yeah.
accidental dress
Yeah.
code. That's interesting. I when I lived in Mississippi, when I was in middle school there, they had a staunch dress code for the men, which was you had to tuck in your shirt and wear a belt. But there was nothing else. It wasn't like we were required to wear collars or anything. So you just had us. We all looked like idiots because we were wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and we tucked in our t-shirt with a belt on. It was like anybody who like tucks in their shirt and is also wearing shorts looks like a maniac. You look like a leprechaun or something. It's insane.
Yeah.
Little
But-
German boy.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
to.
a
We
little
have to
German boy.
yeah, we have to do that for marching band for our summer uniforms. We wear
Yeah.
like khaki shorts and a black polo, and like that's I feel like reasonable. I don't think we look dumb.
As
in
long
those.
as everybody's doing it, it's
Right.
okay.
Mine doesn't tuck anymore because I'm wearing the same one from freshman year. Wow. When I
Oh,
was like
it's not long
115 pounds and 2 inches shorter. But now I'm, what, 25? No. Wait, 50. Give me good math here. 140.
Okay.
like 140.
25 pounds heavier, 2 inches taller.
And so now it's
doesn't-
like
it-
you
it,
raise
like-
your hands
yeah,
at
just get a
all.
little-
It just pulls out.
pulls right out,
Yeah.
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 Like I'm a lot bigger since freshman year
Damn.
too. Like I
Yeah,
was
that-
like
that happens.
I went but I like no, but like I went into freshman year. Like here, I have a picture on my wall. I don't know if I've shown you this
You're
before.
a little guy.
Like I was a little guy.
You're 160 pounds.
I was less than that.
You wrestled 160, right?
I wrestled 150.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
Yeah,
you have
were-
all your IDs with you.
This was me in freshman year.
Oh, unrecognizable.
Yeah,
like, he looks
I'd
like
say.
he's 6.
like this was me my 7th grade year.
Yeah.
Why
Like
you
just
have that?
like just
If I saw you then and I saw you now, I would not recognize you.
yeah, like it's like
You
in
grew a beard.
that is also what happens. In 7th grade I wrestled 107.
Oh.
And
Did you really?
now
Holy.
you were heavier than me in
I was
7th
95 pounds. I
grade.
was not.
Are you sure?
I was the lowest weight class that we had. I actually wrestled up to get into the lowest weight class. I was like 90 something pounds, but I wrestled 195 or 95.
Anyway, so I wrestled 107 my freshman year, and this year I would wrestle heavyweight because I'm 210.
Damn.
Wow.
I'm like a solid that's like 208.
Hey, don't let your dreams be dreams. You
Don't let your
really-
dreams be dreams.
you got somewhere. Good for you.
Speaking of the dress code, though, I was thinking about this the other day. You know the girls that wear like the tube tops that
Yeah.
cover like straight just nipple, nothing else.
Sure.
Well, before Willard sent out that dumb email about the costumes.
Oh my
I
god,
was
did you read it?
I haven't
you
read
get
it
it?
yet. When
Oh
is
my
it?
god,
It's so
it
terrible.
was just like it was not a pleasing. It was like the typical email that you get, and it's like
Was it just like be appropriate?
no, it
Oh,
was
He
like
canceled them though.
it was like here at Holt Public Schools, we strive to include every person and all of their beliefs.
yeah.
But because of this, we are not going to wear Halloween costumes because they might be too.
It was
It was just like
Quite
it was just
terrible.
not. It was just not an email.
Like they might be too offensive.
Yes.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I mean, I get it. I understand. Look. I don't want to act like I'm here as some kind of toady for the establishment, but I can understand the inclination because. It's like you want to cover all your bases, and it's like as straightforward as you are with the rules, there's always going to be like a whole bunch of kids that, don't do it.
what are we doing, Nolan?
I lost my phone.
Oh,
Probably in band.
did you leave it?
no way in the man room.
I don't know where
No,
you're
I
gonna
don't.
put it.
Yeah. I'll find
Anyways,
it. You'll find
I
it
was
later.
thinking like, okay. Now, clearly the shoulders don't matter, right? Clearly the midriff doesn't matter.
Right.
right? I mean, show a little pit. Who cares? What if? I think legitimately the only thing they would care about is that I have to have the old nips covered. So I was thinking, what if I got suspenders and just
Wow.
right over the nipple?
Shirtless right over the nipple.
Right.
So here's what my issue is that I think that they were thinking that, like, the original email that he sent out was like, wear costumes that won't be distracting.
Yeah.
My costume this year is a pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies. And I have the head. Like, it's a big head that sits on top of my head. And I wasn't going to wear the costume at all, but it's like, if I was going to wear it, I would wear the suit.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, there are hands on it and there are feet on it, but I would just wear shoes, no hands, like regular shoes. And, like, that's all I would wear. And, like, Caitlyn is Batman. She would just wear the Batman costume without the mask.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a black bodysuit with a cape on it. That's what people wear to school anyway.
All right.
Like,
People wear
and the,
blankets.
And the other thing that really, I think, makes me upset about this email
Find it real quick.
is that last week we had dress up week for college week.
Sure, and everybody
And
did
everyone did.
outfits.
Like,
and-
do you like it's guided by our equity-oriented strategic plan? We strive to create an environment where every student feels seen, heard, and valued. In line with our safe and welcoming environment goal, we are reimagining how we recognize holidays and celebrations to ensure they reflect our core values. Like, it's just kind of like a passive-aggressive email.
Therefore, we will not be celebrating Halloween at school, and students should not wear costumes to school outside of their daily attire. If students wear costumes to school and have a change of clothing at school, they'll be asked to change. If not, the principal will call home and request. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, in his defense, I don't think it's like Mr. Willard hates Halloween.
It's
and
definitely not him.
No, it's not. It's. I think it's just. It's a.
Some
It's
pissed
a
off
blanket.
parents.
It's a blanket safety move.
Yeah.
It's like rather than dealing with what could be a problem after the fact, getting ahead of it now, and just trying to not even allow space for the problem.
Right, because this is the email that he sent
And I'm somebody
originally.
who loves Halloween, right?
Sure.
So like I Halloween's my favorite holiday. I'm
Over Christmas?
I'm being objective here. Yeah, I'd say over Christmas. I mean, I like fall more than winter in general.
Me too.
Real.
I freaking hate winter. I don't like being cold.
I like scary movies more than Christmas movies most of the time.
Well,
I
I
do
don't-
love Christmas movies, but
Like you turn on a good Hallmark movie where the moment that you meet the first two characters, you know how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like you can literally
it's like a lady
recite.
from
my
New
God.
York City comes back to her small town and
Fucking Sweet Home Alabama. I just watched that the other day with my girlfriend. It was.
Reese Witherspoon. Right?
I hated it. It was terrible. I was like, why'd you make me? That was legitimately awful.
Do you guys like when it comes to your taste in like movies and stuff? Are you pretty down the line? Like
I don't watch movies.
masculine choices?
So Wesley doesn't
You
like
don't watch
movies. I
Okay.
watch almost anything. I don't like scary movies.
Oh,
Never
okay.
have. Like my dad didn't, so I never watched them growing up.
So you love Sweet Home Alabama?
I've never seen Sweet Home
Okay.
Alabama,
It's a-
but
it's a-
I know what
it's a
I know what
rom-com,
it's about. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know it's around. Like
It's
I'm
literally
a-
the most. It's basic bones. Rich guy in New York treats her so good. She goes back. She's technically still married because she never got the divorce papers signed by her husband.
Yeah.
Back in Alabama, she goes back there. He's an asshole to her. She's an asshole to him.
Chattanooga.
For some reason, they're like, well, basically, and then they get married again, or not
Wow.
married again, but they like never get divorced. And she breaks up with this guy who's awesome to her for this asshole that she already was
Well,
divorcing.
is he like a rugged man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
Yeah. and it's-
yeah.
He wears like flannels and stuff. Like
Yeah, yeah.
This
Like-
other guy's some kind of pencil neck, like
Yeah,
The other
like-
guy's like,
like
not
big
even
city
like a,
boy.
yeah, but he's like got a lot of money and he's really nice to her.
Turtleneck and suit.
Yeah,
turtleneck and suit coat.
Like the other guy's just an asshole and
Wow.
and he's awesome to her. And that's what pissed me off. It's like so we're cheating basically.
Yeah.
So we're cheat. Yeah.
I'll have that because that shows up in fiction a lot as like we need to fight more, like the fighting's good. And I remember I was watching I'm watching Parks and Rec for the first time.
Oh, really?
And when Anne is breaking up with Mark Brandanowitz,
Yeah.
she's like, the problem is we never fight. And then I'm like, that sounds great.
That sounds awesome. Like that sounds like,
Just like, it'd
that
be
sounds
so
like something
sick.
that I want to
To
do.
not fight. Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
gotta get a
like
girlfriend
fighting.
first.
Okay.
Yeah. Get a girlfriend and then don't fight with her.
That's the goal.
Those are the two steps to
Yeah.
happiness. Stop there.
That's the goal.
Or fight and make up. I mean,
Unfortunately,
Sure.
I've been friend zoned by the last 4 girls. So
Oh, no.
I mean, whose fault is
Well,
that?
that sounds like it's all of their faults and not you at all.
It's not, guys.
Asshole.
Please stop. Please stop. It's not my fault. No, like
It is your fault. Oh my god, dude.
the KJ,
KJ.
situation was absolutely my
Oh
fault.
my God.
The KJ situation was absolutely my fault. I'm not going to get into it right now.
Yeah,
KJ situation
please
was KJ situation was absolutely
Short
my fault.
Short story. Went
Short
to Europe.
story, went to Europe, met this girl.
Baddie. I wingman the fuck out of my boy Nolan.
met a European girl?
No.
she went on the
she
Europe
went.
trip with
Yeah,
us.
she went to Eaton Rapids. She graduated this year, so she's 18. She goes to LCC. I knew her before, but I never really knew her.
Talked to her.
Right.
Met her. We ended up talking by the end of in a talking stage. By the end of the trip,
By the end of Paris.
yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah, in
the
Paris, you
trip.
guys were hitting off. No, I wingman this guy
he
so
wingmaned the fuck out of me.
Well. Oh my
I was doing
Good for you.
I was
Were
doing
you were like gassing him up, or you just
Yeah,
like,
dude.
oh,
Oh
this
my
guy
god,
here?
I was really.
I was-
trying my best.
I was
like
doing-
going between both of them. And
Yeah.
I was like, clearly you both like each other.
I was
Yeah.
doing okay, and then got home and thought, and then she didn't switch up, but she was a little bit different,
Yeah.
and I didn't pick up on that right away, and so I kind of continued to do things at the pace that she was giving me in Europe,
Yeah.
and that was too fast for what she wanted at home,
Right.
and then it just kind of
Dude,
fell
it's
apart.
literally The Bachelorette. Or
Yeah.
The Bachelor. It's like they have this whirlwind romance because they're in a perfect environment,
Yeah.
this
Right.
getaway. And then they always break up once they get back because they
Right.
have to go back to the real world.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's also I'm not that much older than you guys, so we can maybe both understand this is when somebody's no longer interested, they make it so clear. It's so it's so what's the compare? They'll talk to you like they're in your coworkers.
To be fair, I
So-
do that anyways.
Oh yeah, well that's your move.
Yeah.
That's
The Sigma quiet loner.
the Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Speaking of
Nolan,
Ryan
he did-
Gosling.
what?
The Barbie movie.
Never
I
saw
don't
it.
know. So I know you've never seen it. What did you think of the Barbie movie?
I liked it.
Did you?
Yeah, it's kind of all I thought. I liked it. I didn't think it was a masterpiece, but I
No.
thought it was a good time.
I think that it did a really good job of what it was trying to do, which was
Yeah.
kind of put a blanket over I feel like the structure of the movie is kind of how the company is structured over time. Cuz originally there was a very large blanket over what was the reason why Barbie was a thing, and the putting down of women, all this, all the stuff that it covered in the movie.
Yeah.
And then as time went
Patriarchy.
on, it slowly started to unveil itself, and people started to realize what was actually happening.
Sure, yeah.
And then that's how it was in the movie. As soon as they went to the real world, and then Ken ended up taking over, it was oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I get that it's comedic almost.
My reading of Barbie is almost that the reason Ken and the guys become so swayed towards the patriarchy and become the villains is because they are the oppressed at the beginning. You know, in the beginning in Barbie Land, the guys don't have any say in democracy or anything, and it's
How it should be.
it's almost some would say, yeah, but it's there's no. It's almost about that pendulum swing of how does one become radicalized?
Right.
These guys get so into the patriarchy because they start off oppressed, and and it's at the end of the day, it's there needs to be some kind of even handedness between the
Right,
two of them.
right.
So I don't think it was. You see a lot of dudes going oh, this is feminist propaganda, but it's I think it's a
It
little more,
absolutely is not.
I mean, it is feminist, but it's that's not.
That's
It's
how
more
Barbie's
complex.
always been.
right.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they,
I mean,
and-
sorry if the Barbie movie was made for women.
Right,
I don't know what to tell you.
yeah.
But-
Sorry that the target audience is not a man.
Sure, yeah. that's fine.
I enjoyed the movie. Although Oppenheimer was
rules.
a lot better. Now here's
yeah.
here's my thing
I mean,
about
to be fair, this is an all male podcast right now, but yeah, Oppenheimer.
so
Sweet, man.
I think so.
It's sick.
Here's the thing. Here's what I think about Oppenheimer is that Oppenheimer is a movie that is so well done.
Yeah.
And it's so impeccable the way that it's structured, the flashbacks, the black and white sections, everything flows so well as you would see out of a typical Christopher Nolan movie, right? I never want to watch that movie ever again
Really?
Yeah,
because there's so much that happens and there's so much going on, and like there's just so much information.
Yeah.
That watching it one time and having that experience
It's overwhelming.
was enough to have me not watch again. It's different from something like an Avengers movie, right? Like where there's going to be things that you don't pick up on the first time. You got to watch it like 3 or 4 times to actually like get the full story.
Wait, are you implying that Avengers movies are like more complex than Oppenheimer?
No, absolutely no,
Okay.
absolutely not. You would need to watch Oppenheimer like 7 or 8 times to pick up on everything
I understand
that
what
happens.
you're saying. Okay.
But like,
yeah.
I don't want to.
Sure.
Like it's 3 hours and 15 minutes.
It's exactly 3 hours, I think.
Is it like 3
Yeah.
hours on the dot?
Yeah. I mean, wasn't Avengers Endgame like the same?
Well,
2.5.
Avengers Endgame was like 350.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, not 350.
No,
like
Lord of the Rings is 350.
like two, like
Yeah, the
250,
extended cuts?
255.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Lord of the
love
Rings. That's my favorite.
I do
movie
love Lord of the
trilogy-
Rings. I want
my
to.
favorite movie trilogy of all
It's
time.
been a little while. I want to put aside like an entire Saturday and rewatch those Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be.
You should recommend it to the
good
study
day.
of film classes.
I should. Yeah, I definitely don't have the time to show. Like if I showed all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, that would be
12 hours.
half the semester.
Right. Like
That'd be like 15 days.
yeah. Yeah, that'd be
it's-
way too many
Yeah,
days.
it's too much. Yeah, it's too much to. And also, I think that they're probably not quite school appropriate.
No.
in terms of like the content and also, but the amount of
They're
like,
PG-13. They're fine.
yeah,
They're
but
alright.
the amount of
not really-
death.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
implied. There's a lot of implied death though, rather than
Sure.
Or it's like orc death. Like it's like
Yeah.
those aren't even people. you know?
Right.
Wow.
They're fine. I mean, they're not. Sorry. sorry.
we're
sorry
class-
that
so
I'm
we're
oppressing
racist.
the
We're
orcs.
racist.
Towards orcs. Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you on the notes you guys had before this. You wrote lore. What does lore mean?
Like,
What are you-
we
so
were just
I
gonna-
want to know your story. Like,
Oh.
like some
John Mock.
some things
we,
about
like in
you.
general, we were just gonna be like, well, this is John Mockney. Here's this is like what is who is he and
Right.
Oh.
So actually, I'm gonna ask you some specific
Amazon
questions.
Prime just gave me 3 minutes of straight ads, and I just want to like preface that with I hate that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Unskippable 3 minutes of ads.
Yeah, they
At
do
least
that.
they put them all before.
Yeah.
I was
It's a
just gonna,
downfall.
I was gonna do a funny and like pull up Oppenheimer while you guys were talking about it
Just start watching.
because I'd never seen it, but I'm
No,
still watching ads.
I heard that Christopher Nolan intended for you to watch it on your phone. I heard he said that's the best way to experience.
Yeah,
the movie.
absolutely. He said.
I mean,
like,
to be fair, this phone's pretty damn big.
It's a big phone.
There you go.
but anyway, so
more ads.
I'm gonna. So I watch your podcast. I'm not gonna say the name of it
Okay.
per your request. But
Don't want to be associated with this.
so you talk about comedy a lot, and you have a very strong comedy background, and I
Yeah.
want to know. There's the printer. I want to know how different is podcast riffing to like comedy riffing.
Oh, I forgot you did comedy.
Oh, well, I guess in general, like you're talking about if you're riffing on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
I think podcast riffing can be like a warm up for. Like, I mean, here's one thing. If you're podcast riffing, you're just trying to make your friend laugh.
Sure.
Like, you're just kind of like, egging on your friend, and that's it. But, like, if you're on stage, you're trying to make an audience of people laugh. And if only 1 or 2 of them laugh, it's not going to work. So,
Right.
like, there's a broader appeal to, like, actual, like, on stage riffing.
All
Sure.
watching.
We're all watching.
Yeah, we're all watching Oppenheimer.
So,
Yeah, no.
so here's I guess my second question is, how often do you actually riff on stage, or is
How much of it is planned riffing?
Right. How much of it is like a planned joke that you thought about before?
Oh, it's 95% planned jokes. I
right.
think.
I would have to think that that's the case.
I mean, like you might change, depending on the audience reaction. You might like change your course, or you might like respond to them in like special occasions. But like, I don't know. I'm not. There's nowadays riffing is so popular. Like
It's
on
all people
TikTok,
do.
yeah, all the stand-up clips on TikTok are like the Matt Rife types,
Right,
right,
yeah.
and it's all
So-
like crowd work and stuff. But there's a reason for that because algorithmically, that's just what does well because it's more impressive to people because they're like, "Wow, you thought of that," and it's even
like
if
on
the
the
joke's
fly.
not that clever. But then also, it's like a lot of these comics they're trying to build up an hour, right? They
Right.
want to build up like a 45 to an hour, and they're going to release a special or an album or something. So they don't want to burn that material. So an easy way to like keep quickly producing content is to be like, "Oh, here's just a small clip of me
Here's a
riffing."
yeah, a really good way to keep producing content with low stakes is John Wick. That guy killed a lot of people and then stopped.
That,
just
yeah.
like half of preface. I know that
Or
script
just
flip.
pointing to people, just going like, "Hey, you guys together? Hey, what do you do?"
You
for
look
a living?"
fucking weird.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Like, I doubt Wesley knows who he is. Do you know who Script Flip is?
No, there's no way.
He has no
was
idea.
a local Lansing guy.
So
He tried
this
stand
guy's
up for a bit.
he,
Yeah, I'll tell you. He
tell the story.
He used to do the open mics. He came and went real fast. He was a white rapper
too.
named Script Flip who he dabbled in comedy for a second, and his bits like made no sense. They were like a statement. They were like the half of a premise.
Yeah.
And he had this one that was like, "Oh man, John Wick. What's the deal with John Wick? Like he's killing everybody. Like chill out, dude."
and
that
then he
was the
just
joke.
stopped, and that was the whole joke.
And I cackled. That made me laugh harder than any actual good joke has made me laugh.
It's just like I feel like there's something so funny about the idea that you can do that and make people
Yeah.
laugh with just like you're like he didn't try with that joke. Like
No.
there was
I like to think he tried really hard. I like to think
He was in the studio for hours with that thing.
he rewatched John
Tweaking.
Wick 5 times. And he's like, "There's something here," and then it dawned on him. He's like, "Oh yeah, John Wick kills everybody."
he's just killing everybody.
Has
What's
anyone
the
talked
deal
about
with that? Well, like why is no one talking about this?
Yeah.
Oh, and then there was that other guy. I forgot what you said his name was. There was this old guy who was like trying to fight for time on the open mic.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he
There's
went to the
people like that.
bathroom and he was selling his like jokes. Like he was telling people his jokes in the bathroom. And I remember I think Lou was telling this joke.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, like this guy was in the bathroom and there's just this black kid. He was peeing. Like he's going to the bathroom and then he's like standing behind him and like telling him his joke as he's going to the bathroom, and the kid is just like not having it.
Sure.
And so then he just like looks at him and then just
Well,
like walks away.
Frankly, I think bombarding people with anything while they're like in a compromised position and they can't leave.
Compromise.
I think that's the most evil thing a person can do.
Yeah, because it's like not fair.
It's like when somebody, like I think if somebody tells you about a video, like a funny video, I think the common courtesy should be, I'm going to send you the link. It shouldn't be, all right, let's watch it right now. And then they like force you to watch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's a pretty despicable thing that guy did.
Yeah, that's not fair.
At least be funny about it.
Right.
At
Like,
the very least, make
make your
me laugh,
at
man.
least make your joke funny.
If you're gonna catch me with my pants down, at least
Well, and
I want two things, and one of them's laughter.
from a removed perspective, not having been there, I think it's very funny.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that this guy just walked into a bathroom at a comedy set,
Yeah.
and he was just selling his jokes to these guys who
Poor
were just
people.
trying to go to the bathroom and like
People
walk
who
back
can't
out.
escape.
Right, like
Cornering them. Yeah.
he was. I don't remember what any of the jokes were, but like Lou said, it was just like one of the funniest because he was just like standing there watching this guy trying to sell this joke to
Yeah.
this black kid who was going to the bathroom. He was like 15 years old, and it's this like 65-year-old white guy trying to sell him this joke, and it was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Dude, I'd be so pissed if I was trying to poop and I kept laughing. Keep messing up my progress, man.
I think laughing might push it out. Actually, I think that's
Well, then I'd have to breathe and it like resets it,
sure. Yeah, I get it. Do either of you have an interest in like stand up and things like that?
I think I
performing?
I like watching stand up. I think it's very funny, and like
Yeah.
I think that's why I like your podcast so much is because it reminds me kind of like that stand up kind of like.
Sure.
So like, Donald Trump has been serving McDonald's, like, and you guys just talked about that for like 4
Yeah.
minutes.
Oh, my favorite thing to do, and I'll have people come after me for this sometimes, is like I have political opinions. I think we
Sure.
all do. I don't think it's funny to say your opinion. Like
No,
that
like-
bugs me. Like there's comedians that do politics, and I technically agree with what they say. I just
Dave
don't think it's sure.
Big into it.
Well Chappelle's like, I don't know. Chappelle's interesting, right? Because he's like.
Actually funny.
He's technically he's funny. He's one of the greatest comics. I think Killing Them Softly is one of the greatest comedy specials of all time. But then Chappelle is also like he's like left wing, but then also he kind of has his aversion to trans people and stuff, which
Aversion.
I just put it mildly. But then like I don't know. I just think that usually if you're comedy now, because I think Chappelle's a bit washed now. because now
Yeah.
he just it's the same.
He's
stuff.
leaned
Right.
too far into it.
You know, yeah, and I think like generally speaking, if your comedy's just saying what you think about stuff, I don't think that's fun.
It's
I
not
think
funny.
It's so much more funny to say something that you don't think, and
Right,
then
like
have to try
like-
to justify.
Right, like when you on your podcast and you're like, maybe I'll vote. I don't know, and then your mom texts you
that
like,
made me my mom's so mad.
and your mom texts you, she's like, Johnny, are you actually not going to vote? You're like, no, mom, it's just a bit. I'm just doing a bit.
I'm like, we get school off on the day. I'll figure it out. I'll decide. I'll sleep in and then wake up and see if the polls are still open and
Or like
make the decision then.
or like talking about things like that happen that's like a serious thing, but it's so serious that it's unfunny. Like when you guys were talking about, I forgot what his name was. It was that one politician who was like, sat at the cameras. He was like, I'm going to prove that waterboarding isn't torture.
Oh yeah. Wow. And then he tried it. And he was like, "Oh, this is torture."
And he tried it. And he's like, turn the cameras off. And they absolutely did not turn the cameras off. And then he was like, this is torture. This is torture. Like, shut up. Or like the one guy who was trying to recreate the George Floyd scene.
Oh yeah, it's Steven
Um,
Crowder. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
Crowder.
That was pretty despicable.
And then he was like, and there was that other guy. What was the other guy's name?
Dave Landau.
Yeah, Dave Landau. And
Yeah.
Crowder was happening, and Dave Landau was like, you got to go harder. Like you got to push harder. And he's like,
Right.
but I can't breathe.
And it's like, yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point,
What do you?
dude.
Yeah. No, it's always funny. I think when people kind of paint themselves into a hole, when they're like,
Sure.
oh, I'm this guy, I'm the conservative guy, I'm the liberal guy, and then it doesn't even, you kind of own yourself by accident,
Yeah.
in the process. So,
Well, there's some people who are like they're Republican because they're Republican.
Right. Like
They're
they
like,
don't. They don't
they're like,
know.
They're definitely like have democratic values.
Yeah.
Or they're a good mix, but they're like, well, I'm voting for Trump because that's what we do.
well, especially like, because Michigan's a purple state, right?
Michigan's
a
like,
purple state.
Libertarians, I think, are the most common people you meet. It's like people that are like socially liberal, but they're like, I just want to lower taxes. I think
that's kind of like
I want to be able
like,
to shoot someone in my yard, and I don't want to pay taxes.
right. No, it's pretty
Right,
much it.
like, and that's like, obviously, I'm only 17, I can't vote, but like, I would say that if there was a group that I had to like consider myself, and I would say I'm more libertarian, I'm like
Yeah.
kind of like dead center on that line. I grew up in a Republican family, and now that I'm older and I'm on the internet and I kind of understand how things work, I'm kind of more socially.
Those things do not go together.
I'm a little.
Going on the internet and finding out. Now that I'm on the internet, I know how everything works.
Yes, absolutely. You read you read something on Google. That's how it is.
Dude, my dad used to get on me for that so much. Anytime I'd like talk to him about something, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I just watched a video," and you'd be like, "Oh, you fucking watched a video on YouTube."
Fucking stupid, fucking,
oh
fucking
my
stupid,
God. I'm like-
Beavis,
I'm like-
fucking stupid.
I'm like,
Beavis,
yes,
fucking
probably
idiot.
it's not 100% true, but also, I can't go around not trusting everything I see on the internet.
Or
Right.
Especially on like informational videos by like the Discovery Channel. I think I
Right,
can trust
like-
them.
That's why I think it would be cool, and I've thought about pitching a class that's about like conspiracy theories or fake news or something like that.
Conspiracy theories would be a
and,
fun
and
class.
like parsing through it. It wouldn't be like these are all those conspiracy theories and this is why they're all true. It'd be like, how do you figure out? How do you
My
figure
mom
this stuff
thinks
out?
aliens are 100% real.
Oh well.
And but that's what I
Like
think.
she's like they've been covering it up, and then she tried to get my grandma lived in whatever in New Mexico.
Okay,
that
yeah.
one place that was supposedly had UFOs.
Area 51.
No. It was like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and she was like, "Well, mom, you saw them, right? You saw the UFOs." My grandma was like, "No, I didn't see anything. We saw some like planes and shit.
Right.
We thought they were
Right.
UFOs, but it was also the 1940s."
All right. Yeah, you might have just didn't know what a plane was yet.
Right. Or like,
It's a hot air balloon.
or
We're like,
like,
what the fuck is that?
or like one last thing. Like, there are people who, I think that the reason that conspiracy theories are so funny is because there are people who genuinely think that 9/11 was staged.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
Staged or planned?
Orchestrated.
like an inside
Okay.
job, like an inside
Sure,
job.
yeah.
No, I didn't mean staged. As in like it was
Obviously,
Like it
fake.
didn't
hopefully it was
actually
planned.
Like it didn't actually happen.
It's like, I think it
more
did happen.
like an inside job. But
Yeah.
that's so baffling to me because I just recently walked through the 9/11 Memorial Museum.
Yeah.
And there's no way. Right? Like 3,000 people died.
Well, they always go through like the jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Like, yeah, no shit, it didn't liquefy it.
Right.
It melted it a little. It got it hot enough to where it slouched under the weight of thousands of people and lots
Yeah.
of glass and concrete.
and a plane.
There's a difference between, because there are people who make the arguments about like false flag attacks for the case of like federal spending,
Right.
and, the FBI or the CIA or whatever. But it's like you can't. I mean, God, like that devastated an entire city.
There's also really
Right.
no,
It's like that.
there was
That
no
would be
reason
such a
to
big
do it.
scale.
Yeah, there's like why
thing.
there's no reason to do it.
Just so we could like start killing Muslims. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, there was the oil in the Middle East.
Yeah,
Sure.
we could have found a plethora of other ways to go
about that than
go
staging.
genocide
Sure,
some people
yeah.
than to killing 3,000 Americans.
Right.
All right, let's
doesn't
stop
make sense.
talking before we.
All right. On that high
ourselves.
note,
On that high note,
Maki has to go teach a
Maki has to go
class.
teach a
Yes.
class, and we have to go teach, or no,
Yeah.
not teach. We're gonna go and hang out in that class. Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to right now.
thank you for having me, guys. This was
Absolutely,
a great time.
anytime. Yeah, we should do this again.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I graduate, I hope to be on yours.
Okay,
'Cause that would be a
sounds
lot
good.
of fun. All right, that was Elephants in the Room, episode 5. Hope you enjoyed, and
Yeah.
we will see you guys next week.
Thank you.